Like probably a lot of you, I'm a big fan of automation. That whole complex of technology has the potential to relieve unimaginable amounts of human suffering, improve quality of life for everyone, and potentially even alter the very face of capitalism. There's a lot of dangerous or tedious jobs that it could make less dangerous or tedious or just get rid of altogether. There's a lot of important jobs that it can assist with and do to a higher degree of precision, and even the people who lose their jobs, it can really improve their lives as well. But I'm not here to talk about all the good stuff that'll happen with increased automation. I'm here to talk about the bad stuff today. I'd like to present to you a scenario that's been sort of running around my head for a while and that I find really quite scary. So a few years ago, CGPGrey did a video on the keys to power. If you haven't watched it, do go watch it. It's a very good video. But otherwise, I will summarize the key points for you. It posits that a person who wants to control an area or organization will have to hold power over the keys to that area or organization. And these keys are other powerful people who are below you in the pecking order, but still above pretty much everyone else. So if you want to be El Presidente of your own South American banana republic, you will need to control powerful business magnates, police and intelligence people, like high-ranking ones, and obviously also politicians and the military. And this principle goes all the way down. If you want to be one of those powerful business magnates that allows the El Presidente of the Banana Republic to do their thing, you have to have the loyalty of your investors and your suppliers and your department heads. If you want to be an effective department head, you need to have control over your deputies and your keystone employees. This goes all the way down to the level where you're the alpha of the office because you're friends with Lily from HR and Marcus, who does the fantasy football league. And the way to remain in power is by giving the keys something that they want, usually a slice of the pie of power. You might give the business magnate better access to your ports, or maybe no import tariffs or export tariffs on whatever their specific company produces, exclusive logging rights in your rainforest. Police might be given generous pensions and like good pay grades from the tax money and high-tech equipment that they want. You'd give the intelligence community a powerful surveillance apparatus with which they can basically satisfy their peeping Tom needs and do whatever they want, and control your political opposition, which might ultimately benefit you also. You can give politicians important ministerial offices or ideological concessions. You could expand the military to basically be able to get away with anything. There's 1,000 different ways to keep the keys that you control to remain in power happy and, under your control, much like they have their own ways to control the keys that are underneath them. And as long as you can effectively do that, you can remain in power. Humans do have a tendency to act in a way where when things are advantageous to them, they will try to make those circumstances which are advantageous to them the circumstances which surround them. However, the keys of power can also be taken away from you. That might be by a rival who's giving them a better offer and they think, well, maybe the rival can actually get the thing done that they want to do. Or possibly they get pissed off because you didn't deliver what they wanted. Or possibly you asked them to do something and they said no. You lose a single key, your position is already compromised. The more keys you lose, the easier it is for you to lose more keys. And when you don't have the keys anymore, well, then you don't have the power anymore either. Now, obviously, most of the time, things aren't that simple and authoritarian. We do not, after all, at least most of us, don't live in banana republics. But the principle of needing key people to be loyal to you, who in turn have their own key people that they need to keep loyal to them, does hold up. And that's one of the major factors that keeps people in power in check from the people below them. If you're the king, you may be the king, but you don't want to go around deliberately pissing off the archdukes, because they can, if they get pissed off enough, make you not the king anymore. This making sure that no individual has extreme amounts of power is one of the main concepts of modern nation states. That's why we have separation of powers and checks and balances in politics. So ultimately, no matter what the big boss does, there can be a ripple effect of keys turning their loyalties to other keys and other people holding other keys, and when the big boss loses their main keys, they're fucked. So what if you had keys that were by design hard-coded into their personalities, utterly and completely loyal and devoted to you? They would do whatever you want them to do, and all of the keys underneath them are also programmed in the exact same way, and you don't even need to give them anything in return aside from, like, you know, keeping them alive with, like, power. By which I mean electrical power. Yes, I am in fact talking about robots. I mean, if we talk law enforcement alone, right? Take the United States. There's probably hundreds of thousands of different law enforcement organizations that do vastly different things, and they all have like subdivisions and their own, and this is the county sheriff of here, and then there's that police department, but there's federal agencies above that, but they all, and there's, you know, not everyone is in every case, and there's departments inside of every city police thing where you have, oh, this is the missing persons department, this is the major crimes division, maybe you have a homicide department specifically. They're all diluted. They operate differently, they have a different culture to them. One sheriff will run their department very differently to another. But what if you could just take all of this organizational clusterfuck, replace it with one agency, doesn't staff any humans at all, it's all just robots. Because the thing about organizations run by humans is that when they get too big, they become increasingly ineffective. This is why we subdivide these things, not just to prevent an accumulation of power, but to also keep them effective at operating in these special areas that they operate in. Machines also have that problem, but only when it's like on a much, much, much larger scale. So now you have a whole branch of government where there's no more keys. There's just one key, and that's the access and control codes to all of the machines. There's no longer a clusterfuck of diluted organizations. No, it's just this one monolith that will do what this one guy tells it to and demand nothing in return. The ability to essentially automate anything, which is the premise here, removes a lot of potential for things to go right where they would have otherwise have gone wrong, as a command ripples through the keychain. The keychain of command. Not only do the people at the very top of the chain have the ability to dissociate themselves from their actions because they're not actually the people who have to do the thing, they also often don't really have the experience of the being on the ground part, and sometimes they just straight up don't care. How much fucked up shit do you think has been prevented from happening because somebody down the keychain of command said, yeah, no, we're not doing that. In Nazi Germany, you had like Wehrmacht officers, ranking ones, not delivering Jews that they had captured to the SS because they had a pretty good idea of what was going to happen to them, and they considered that shit inhumane. During the Cold War, there was more than one situation where nukes were supposed to fly, but someone who sat at the actual machine where you have to press the button when the command comes, someone who knew how to calibrate the weapons, went, just hold on for 1 minute while we check this. You've whistleblowers in all kinds of organizations, but especially like the intelligence and military communities. We're doing all this fucked up shit and nobody knows about it. Maybe I should tell people. This works on the mundane industrial side also. If you can automate anything, you don't need the workers that might strike. You don't even really need the customers who can stop being your customers because they don't like your shitty business practices. Because you don't need their money anymore. You have full automation of everything, and you control the machine that runs it. You want anything? Press the button and your autofabricator will make it, and then you'll have the thing. You need the resources? Yeah, you control the asteroid mines that just bring shit in. And sometimes those robots will shoot the robots of some other rich cunt, But you don't need to sell what you... Who needs that? Who needs to fucking engage in the market when you have essential slavery for which you need to pay nothing, and which also may not necessarily be all that immoral on account of it's not humans, it's just machines. If you reach this point as an individual, you will be the most powerful human to ever have lived in all of human history, and you will not have to give a shit about literally any other person that you don't want to give a shit about, because you are accountable to literally no one. And that's scary, because that state of events where there just isn't a key chain of command underneath the most powerful person is something that has never ever happened in all of human history. A powerful person accountable to absolutely no one but themselves. Also, they basically have godlike powers. Like, what if you're the guy who programs the first supercomputer that'll take over the world, and you put in a line of code that makes it so it's exclusively loyal to you and does whatever you want it to? At that point, you could just tell it to squash anything that might at any point in any way interfere with your absolute hegemony over the human race and the universe, and it'll just do that because it doesn't care. Right now, even us poor plebs have some power over the powerful and over the people above us because we can choose whom we vote for or whose products we buy. But at that point in time, anyone who has made it over the magic threshold of having their own super AI autofab array, they're not gonna need the rest of us anymore at all. And sure, they might tolerate us. They might go, yeah, fucking I have my million mansions all over the solar system. There's a couple billion people somewhere. Who gives a fuck? I'm way too busy shooting a war with the other guy who might actually be a threat to me as opposed to those random people. But if I feel like building a space highway where all of the humans are, I can do that. I want to just really make this clear. These individual people could do whatever the fuck they want. Literally anything. And no one would have the power to stop them. These are not elected individuals. These are not individuals who worked for their success. These are individuals who just were born with money at the right time. And this level of technology is not an if question, it's a when question. And considering the way that the ultra-rich aristocrats have tended to act historically, and, you know, also like right now, I'm not liking the chances of this scenario not happening, which is what I would rather would happen actually. The human species is a network. It makes us function as a society. It keeps us in check as individuals. There are people who live outside of the network, outside of society. They're usually like crazy hermits or homeless people that shout at you in the street, or just sociopaths. But they can't get into power because they need the network, they need the keys, and they can't get them. Even if you are a misanthropic sociopath, if you want to get the keys, you need to act like you are not a misanthropic sociopath. And if that most fundamental of human checks and balances goes away, Jesus fucking Christ, will the results be horrifying. Thank you very much for watching this video. I appreciate all of you. Like, comment, subscribe, share this to your relevant communities, but do not spam them. Big announcements probably tomorrow. Consider buying some of the merchandise or supporting me on Patreon or Subscribestar, but no rush. And in that spirit, you know, sweet dreams, I suppose. And see you around, cunts.